One of the things that a lot of people struggle with in interior photography is how to light a large room and how to photograph rooms that are very heavily decorated in wood, whether that is a wood floor, wood walls, wood ceilings. And in this instance, it's going to be a custom built home that is built in a log cabin style. The difficult thing about wood is it loves to flare, it loves to oversaturate, it does not like to be lit up with flash, and it makes it really hard to bounce light in those rooms. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I build a nice flash layer with multiple different flashes shot on my 8400 Pro with the CS50T compact lantern diffuser. And we're going to go through and build it the way that I would like to. It's not going to be the fastest way to do it, but it is going to be the way that I like to edit my photos. We will be using Luminosity masking, and we will use a program called Raya Pro, which is a plugin for Photoshop to do a lot of that. We will also be adding some contrast through Luminosity masking, and we will be building a mask using the quick mask tool and mostly the pen tool and just a couple different techniques. My goal with this video is to kind of show you how I like to light rooms like this and how to edit them in a way that I think makes a very pleasing and natural looking photo. So let's hop into Lightroom and we'll get started. All right, so we are here in Lightroom. This is the image that we are going to be working with. I have done nothing to them. And as you can see, I don't know why the import dialog is going on up here. Let's get rid of that, hopefully. And as you can see, we've got here, taking on my Nikon Z8 of this beautiful cabin. And this is what I was talking about. All of this really warm yellow stained wood with these wood pillars and these massive windows. As you can see in some of these, we've got a really nice view outside of them, and we are going to be brushing this view in. Now, I have kind of gotten away from using Lightroom Infuse. So in this one, we're honestly just going to be working with one ambient file, and then we will be brushing everything in. This is probably going to be a very heavy like workload for your computer. So if you don't, I will be using what is called Smart Objects. If you don't want to use Smart Objects and you would like to just use them as layers when you edit them, and edit in Photoshop, you are more than welcome to open all of these as layers. It is grayed out because I don't have more of them selected, and that will reduce the amount of requirements on your system. But for what we're going to be doing in the way that I like to work, I have a 16 core 32 thread processor in my computer. I've got 64 gigs of RAM and an RTX 4090. This thing is made for doing this. So we are going to use, and just because I like doing it, we are going to be using all of these in a smart object because it gives a lot of flexibility. So to start, we are going to put on my basic starting preset. I like to have it on Adobe Neutral. All this does is kind of pull some of the highlights down, push some of the shadows, and adds a little bit of some color mixer stuff to it just to kind of pull out some of those crazy tones. But nothing crazy. We can go over this if you guys would like to sometime and create some of these. But again, this is just up to your taste. I generally will pick Adobe Color neutral or standard. I don't go too crazy with any of this other stuff that I have in here. A lot of these are LUTs that were made, and a lot of these are also just different profiles, but I stick to all this stuff for all of what I am doing. And we're going to use Adobe Color. I'm going to take this, let me deselect all of these flashes. I'm clicking while holding Control to do that. And then I'm just going to sync this across for all of the ambience. And most likely we are going to use this as a base. We possibly could use this one. I tend to like to use a darker image and hand blend in some stuff. However, for the basis of this video, we are going to be working with flashes and doing a luminosity as opposed to an HDR by hand. And so for that, I believe we will probably use this guy and none of these other ones. One thing to remember is your cameras have a ton of dynamic range, so it is always good to use as much of it as you can. And I really don't think bringing in something that is, going to be an HDR'd version of this, whether that is through Infuse or SNS HDR or even just Lightroom's own program, really is going to help us that much. I would rather just use this regular ambient file. So we are going to come into our flashes and we are going to put our starting flash base on. I'm also going to come in and change this first to Adobe Color. And then this is also 5650. I know what color my flash is, and it's generally around here. I'm going to adjust these on the exposure to where this hump of data is more on the right, exposed to the right. That gives us a little bit more of a brighter image, probably right in there. Then we will highlight all of them, sync those settings across, and then that will give us the same settings on all of our flashes. Now I'm just going to select this ambient and all of these flash frames and bring them into Photoshop as smart object layers. I like to use smart object layers. Don't know why that's up. And the reason that I like to use smart object layers is because, oh my gosh, my Photoshop's too big. You will forgive me. Again, as I always explain in every editing video that I do, I have a large widescreen monitor and I have to scale it down for this. And when I do that, a lot of the time, it likes to keep my Photoshop the same size as my monitor, so we will fix that once all of these raw files come in. But the reason that I like to use smart objects is because it works for how I like to interact with my photos and interact with editing in Photoshop. It makes it much easier for me to make adjustments later on, to have a lot more flexibility in all of the photos that I am using. And you're going to see that in this video as we edit in a lot of these windows. Now, again, we are doing this intentionally from a standpoint of a Flambient real estate shoot. These are going to be shot this way and edited this way because it is kind of the most popular style of editing, and I want to do right by you guys in editing it that way. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate this ambient. So I'm going to call this ambient copy. And we will label this guy as ambient. Okay. And I'm going to grab all of these flash files and I'm going to go right click them and create. Can I do all of them at once? I cannot do new smart objects via copy. So what we're going to have to do is we will take these and let me see how I'm going to do that. So what normally you would do if you're using layers is you would just Command J these or duplicate them. The problem is that you can't do that because they'll all react the same as smart object layers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick, I think what we'll do is we will leave them for now and then I will pick and choose them as we go. So what the goal here is we are going to build a flash image. So this is the one that's from behind the camera. I'm just going to drag that to the bottom and then turn all of these off as we go. And we're going to build a flash image here. So the first thing we're going to do is turn this one on and we'll see I'm standing over here. The easiest thing to do is to take this style and make it a lighten image and then take and put a black mask on it and take a brush and then just paint. Oops. No, I did that wrong. We'll invert that. And then it's just to take a black brush and paint out yourself and any of the extra crazy bright light. And then that way you can see we're just getting that nice subtle light in here. Next, we're going to turn this one on and we'll see we're over there. So what we'll do is we'll take this guy, turn it to lighten. And if at any point these start to get a little bit too bright, you can always turn the opacity down on them and that will rein them in. But again, we are looking for the brightness from these layers, not any of the color information. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. So we're going to take and we are going to put a white mask on that with our black brush. I'm going to shrink it down here, and we are going to just kind of paint us out. It's a nice little brush here, maybe a little something like that, just to bring it down. I'm not worried about any of this stuff in the window because we are not going to use that. And there we go. You know, I don't really love this. Let's just get rid of that. Let's turn this guy on. Again, take us to lighten. And again, if at any point this starts to get a little bit too much, we will deal with it. Let's go ahead and let's paint us out real quick. I am using a brush with 100% opacity and a 5% flow. That's how I am able to just kind of click and hold and wiggle my mouse around and give a little build-up effect. We're just trying to get rid of some of that, and you can see that's pretty good. Gives us some nice light back there. Next, we'll turn this guy on. Same exact thing. Make sure we change it to lighten. We are going to do this. Now, sometimes you're not always going to use lighten. You will use a normal mode sometimes. I like lighten and to kind of play around with them. You can also use screen if you want to, but it gets really, really bright. If we use normal, see, our problem is that it puts way too much of this in here, and we get too much of the darkness, and we only get a little bit of this light, which is why I like to use lighten, because it kind of is an additive effect, and that's what we're really going for with a lot of this stuff. So this one we're going to turn on. This is going to help us over here, so we're going to turn this guy to lighten and put a mask on it, and then just paint us out as we would. It's a very super soft brush as well, in case you're wondering. Let's get rid of some of that. Notice how I kind of filled in a lot of this over here where we just were. That is our goal. And then this guy we are going to, again, change to lighten, put a mask on it. And we're going to pretty much, you could use a gradient here if you want to. Like I said, I'm just going to use a very soft brush and kind of paint out that. Maybe a little bit less there. Just kind of brush that out. See, that gives us a lot of light. Now, this is a very nice flash image, which is much better than just this one that comes from just behind. This has a lot more definition and directionality to it, and is pretty evident of what you would want to use in a Flambient scenario. We have one more flash. It's right here. Again, we're going to turn that guy to lighten, and we are going to put a mask on it, brush it out. And that will be largely our buildup for a lot of this. I'm just going to kind of that. And if we wanted to, we can put all those in a folder and just kind of turn them on and off and just see how they add to it. They add a lot of light and a lot of shadows, which is really nice. And we are going to here. And we will, one second, my dog is wanting to go out. There we go. Of course, we picked the most inopportune time, as always. But now we are going to take this guy, turn it to luminosity, and it looks terrible, as most luminosity masks do. But we have our saving grace of our 50% normal layer. We put that on, and there we go. Now we have our luminosity blending. Everything is nice and even. The color is nice. The tone is good. We have no weird flash shadows. And you can see when we turn this stuff off, you can see how that brightness information is kind of helping us a little bit. If you look, when we turn it on and off, it may not be very visible, but we're getting a lot more color on this couch. We're getting a lot more color on this wood. It's a lot more even in its color. As it's on there, and that brightness that is on there from all of that. The ambient is giving us the brightness, but the color information is coming from this. You can also see that when we turn this off, this gets really dark in the shadow here, and when we turn it back on, we get a little bit nicer. Now, if we wanted to come in, say like you see right here, how we have this little bit of a strange flash, we can come in and we can see where that is. There's a little bit of it here. Take our black brush and just kind of go like this. And let's see, not that one, not that one. It's this one. All we have to do is come and paint it like that. You get a little bit of weirdness, and boom, we are good to go there. So now what we are going to do is we are going to be working with these windows. So what I want to do, and this is going to be where it's a little bit more delicate because I'm trying to figure out where all of these things are. We're going to turn these masks kind of on and off as I look for, let's see, I think, you know what we can do is we can go out here and figure out which one it is. We are going to want to use these last three. So 34, 35, and 36 for our window pulls. So we're going to come down here, 34, right click this guy, and we are going to say new smart object via copy. We're going to drag him up here, put him on top, and turn it back to normal and turn it off. We also want 35, same thing, do that. And again, the reason that we are doing this is because when you are working with smart objects, you have to get rid of those masks. You have to do this. Otherwise, if you just Command J or duplicate them, when you edit one of these layers or you edit one of the duplicated ones, it will also edit this smart object. They are considered the same thing, like just two copies of the same thing. And when you edit them, you will edit the same thing over and over again. And you'll start to get some weird effects when you do that. So that's why you have to make a new smart object via copy, is it makes it its own new layer and its own smart object. So it doesn't matter where we start. I'm probably going to start with this guy. And what I want to do is I want to build a mask. So we are going to come in here and we are going to trace this by hand. Now, if you really wanted to, you could do a, excuse me, as I hold that down. You can, oh my Lord. Let me go turn this off in OBS. Oh good, the OBS audio, you're not getting it, but I am. I'm getting the error, the lovely error sound. But you can do a darken mode if we want to on this one. I like doing a little bit more of an object selection for this. So we're gonna quickly come in here and do a bunch of different selections real fast. So the first thing we're going to do, keep this layer on. I'm just going to come in here with my pen tool and we are going to build this mask. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to create just a new blank layer, and that's where it's going to hold my mask for me. We're going to come in here and we are just going to quickly select this. I like the pen tool because I like using the little drag handles to do round corners, because those round corners can be a pain in the ass sometimes. You also can just keep clicking like that if you'd like to. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever makes it easier for you. And now I'm going to ignore this fan and I will show you why and what we will use instead to help us with that selection in a bit. And also this hand railing, I'm not going to come through here and select this stuff. I'll show you what we're going to do for that. What I think we'll do is we will just come in here and we're just going to act like we know where this is, and we're just going to make a big selection and we will refine this shortly. I don't really think this matters too much. We're going to refine that out, so don't worry about that. Selection, hold shift and add that to our selection. Same thing here. I think I'll probably just grab this one because it's pretty tiny, but one thing I have found in doing this lately is that the AI selection tools that Adobe have gotten so good over the last couple of years that they are far more worth using now, as opposed to when they first came out and they were real bad. They weren't bad. I just think that they required such a high degree of skill and understanding of, you know, Adobe's different things, different techniques, that it almost made it harder to use, like less approachable to use, because all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, wait, now you need to use the quick selection tool, and then you need to refine it with refine edge tool and do this and do that. And for me, I just was never good at it. I was never great at using the quick mask tool for like selections of hair and leaves and stuff. Like if I was doing portraits, I could select people's hair, or if you had like a lot of leaves or pine needles or pine trees in front of things, it was really easy to grab each one of them. But I was never great at it. So again, we're just going to kind of grab a rough selection around this, and we will refine it out as we go. And I will show you how we do that. And the idea is we're just creating, I'm just gonna go all the way over here, is that we are going to create a mask and then delete parts of it or refine parts of it here. And then we will use that mask that we are building in this blank layer to apply to our flash layers. So now that we have that, I'm just gonna click here, and it's going to add that mask. I think if I alt click it, we can see here's our mask, right? So if we alt click it again, we're going to come back. We didn't add these up here, so we want to do that really fast. And this is why I like building a mask on the different layers, because you don't have to sit here with those marching ants and that selection, and you can come and add and remove, and it makes life really easy. Now, I do understand a darken mode would be a lot faster, but that's not what we're doing here. This is a very complicated one, and I want to do a really, really good job. Again, darker mode window pull, sure, could you do it? Absolutely. I just don't think that it's where I want to be doing it. Let's go here. I don't want the gradient. I don't want the paint bucket tool. White, dye. And then let's make sure. Okay, we got it. So there's that. So now we want to put that fan blade in here and stuff. I'm going to hit W for this quick selection tool. And it will, now see, we're on the wrong layer. So we want to click on our flash layer here. And it will analyze to find objects. Usually it allows you to just like click on things, kind of just do it like this. Yep, there we go. And we might even be able, if we hold shift, you're able to go like this and it will make, oh, nope, it's not what I wanted to do. Let's see if I can just grab this guy. There we go. And it grabs that object. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, take our paintbrush tool or our paint bucket tool, and we're just going to dye this black. Hold this to see, and there it is. Now it is a little bit rough in terms of that. So what we can do is we can just take our brush tool here and we can just go just like this and kind of paint in this as best we can. Just like that. So, because we know that beam is there, and just do that. And then also we're going to want to see, sometimes it does get a little bit goofy here. We know that we want this to be here. We don't want this hard line here. So we can just come in and refine that really quickly. Now you could use a, harder brush for this if you wanted to, with more opacity, more flow. I tend to like the build-up just because it's a lot easier. I think we have some fan blades over here we need to go pick up. We do. Trying to see, is this the quick? Yeah, it is. Okay, make sure we're on the right layer, and we are just going to, did that wrong. Let's just go like this, so we can grab it. There we go, and let's hold shift and grab that as well, maybe a little bit more. There we go. And we will come in here, take our paint bucket, and dye those out. Just look real quick. There they are. D, B. And then let's kind of feather that out. A little smaller. Feather that guy out. And do that. And like I said, we could use other ones if we really wanted to. But for now, I think I just double clicked on it. Okay, so now we want to select, I wonder if, let's see if we did this. Let's duplicate this layer, that's fine. Then let's rasterize it. Oh my goodness. Let's see if this works. There's rasterize this layer. Does this allow me to do, it doesn't. What I'm trying to do is, interesting. Selection tool. Maybe if I do that now. There was a way. What's this guy? I have been lately using this, and you get this like AI selection of things, but it just doesn't want to do it. That picked me. Interesting. Show all objects. Yeah, oh, it's got these as objects, but it doesn't have, those are a little bit too far away. That's why. Okay, well, that's all right. Not a big deal. Turn that off. That's what I was looking for. But what we can do, and we'll just kind of go here, and there's that guy selected. Let's do this guy. And it makes it really easy to select things. And what we're going to do is we are going to go here, and then we are going to go Control-Shift-I. Sorry about that. Okay, we're back. And let me go in here. I had to close Steam, so you guys didn't see any of that. I was not prepared. And now we are going to come in here, Alt-click, and we are going to take our black brush, and we're going to make it quite large. And we're just going to paint in those beams that are right here. And by selecting the inverse, after we did that, we can paint all of them in, and this is how we build that mask. See, we've got those. Now all we got to do is, again, Control D to deselect. We are going to come in here. Oh my gosh, I want to do that. And we are just going to, again, kind of select that guy, hold Shift, select that guy, Shift, select that guy. Oh, no, that didn't work. Let's do it like this. It's thinking that I'm trying to select the object. So what we're going to do, we'll grab our pen tool and we will just come over here, 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 and we will just selection, add to that selection. Boom, just like that. We're going to come down here and we're going to try and just select this guy. Hopefully that worked. It did. And we are going to come, oh no, I didn't hold Shift when I did that. Let's do this. And then we're going to do Control-Shift-I to invert. Come in here. Hold Alt while we click. And we're just going to paint in our beam here. Looks like we have a little bit of an object issue there, which I will fix in just a moment. I'm going to change the flow to 100 really fast. And we'll just paint that all in one fell swoop. Oops, no. I got a little too crazy with my brush. Let's just paint all that in real quick. Okay, I'm going to change my flow, oh my gosh, back to 5%, because otherwise if I don't, I won't remember it. Turn that to white, and come down here. And we will just paint this out real fast, so we don't have to deal with that. I don't think we're going to worry too much about this. I don't think it's going to show. Okay, Alt-click, turn that off. Again, let's take our object selection tool and let's just, oh, that's not going to work. Yeah, it's because we are not on the right layer. We can get rid of that guy. Go here, select that, hold Shift. Just make sure we're holding Shift. It's going to select all of these. That one's already added to it. I'm not worried about it. Here, here. See if we can get this real thin one. I don't know. Yep, there we go. And then now we're going to go back in here and we're going to Control-Shift-I, grab our brush. And we will do, see doodle, black. And we will just paint that in really quick. Boom. Oop. And of course, that didn't work because my brush is so large that I was making too large of a swath with my painting. That's why this brush can be kind of a pain when you're doing this stuff. I think our only issue is we have just this little guy. For whatever reason, it didn't select correctly. So we're going to come here, grab this. Boom, selection, do that. Go in here, BX, change it to white, and we're just going to paint him in really quick. Boom. And that should be our selection. And now we have a perfectly selected window. So all we're going to do hold control. We're going to Control D to make sure we don't have anything selected. And we are going to put this selection on our thing. Hold our mask button down, wrong way. And there we have our window pull. And we can now go in, and it's a little heavy in my opinion, just because of how bright all of this stuff is. So what I would do, especially with like this here, and now you can come in and you can kind of brush that in a little bit if you want to, right? Just so we kind of help some of this out, blend it a little bit more, because that was a hard line. Ooh, I don't like doing that though. More? No, that's fine. And then what we can do is come over here and grab this guy, put just a mask on it completely, and then we will take and we will go and brush this out. Now what I want to do is grab my pen tool and kind of put it up against this wood here. Do our selection, just so we don't accidentally paint in too much there. D, that's out. We'll paint this guy out, just like that. And now we've got a pretty good selection there. I mean, that looks pretty solid. I think what we may do, let's see. Now we're going to turn that off for a second. Let's go in into this one, and whatever we do in this one, oh my goodness, let me shrink my camera down. So this is why I use smart objects, is that this is camera raw. So I'm going to push those shadows up a little bit. So that's 100 on the shadows. Then let's kind of see what happens here. Let's go down a bit, maybe pull those highs just a hair more. And then see what happens if we do like Adobe Landscape. Give this a little more punch through those windows. Yeah, now that does look a little bit better, but I think what I want to do is brighten it up just a bit. So it's a little bit off on the brightness, a little bit too much. So let's go back in, and again, we'll just remember what these values are. Let's do 1.4. Boom. That looks good. When we turn this on, it kind of looks dumb. So what we're going to do is go back in here. And it actually doesn't look as bad. We will turn this to Adobe Landscape as well. And then we're going to remember this was plus here. I believe this was -80. And then this was 1.45, like that. That'll make our blend even better. And that's still, maybe that is a little bit too bright for you. You can always kind of reduce things down if we wanted to. We could stick them in a folder, and then you could take and kind of reduce that down if we still wanted to have it be a little bit brighter coming through there. I'm not a huge fan of having like crazy amounts of darkness, you know, really dark windows and things like that. I like it to look a little bit more natural, because if we really wanted to, you could darken like everything in here and then have the window come down a little bit. But I think that looks pretty good for what we're doing. And then what we're going to do, now that we have everything the way that we like it, you can see we've got really, really nice masks around everything here. If we really wanted to, you could come in with your flash and fix this glare. I don't really think it matters. Like, what does this guy do? I do like the flash actually on that, and I also like it on there. Man. So what we'll do, we'll turn that guy on, mask him off, and then I'm just going to take a really light brush. I know I was like, you don't have to, but I do like how it looks. We can take some of that glare off here. If you were doing this for like architecture, you could actually take a, oh my goodness, what was I going to say here? I want to do that. You could take a bounce card or a diffusion disc, and you could put it behind this, and then that way it would make this a lot less apparent. We'll just take this guy nice and lightly, just kind of get some of that off there. I think that looks pretty good actually. Get it bleed a little bit. It did bleed a little bit. Let's take our black here, just kind of paint right there, paint right there. Yeah, I do like how that looks. Maybe a little bit less on this side. There we go. And I think that looks pretty good. And then so what you can do, you can flatten everything down. And then what I also really like to do is I like to go into my Raya Pro here, instant mask, and select my mid-tone mask, the number 1, and then go to curves. And then when we're in curves, that's going to change that mid-tone mask into a curves layer. Then you can come here and you can click that increase contrast button. And then that is going to make those midtones have quite a bit more contrast, which is what we lose a lot of the time when we're doing this. Then adjust that opacity down. If you don't like the saturation shift that you get with this, you can change this to luminosity, and then that way it will only do the contrast. Some people find that to be a lot better than having it be on normal, where you see all this really rich saturation. It's a to a taste thing. I personally think I'm going to leave it on normal, and we're going to drop it down to probably somewhere around here, maybe a little bit, see a little more, maybe like something right around 40%. I think that looks good. And then if you really want to, what you can do, see, we can call this mids. We can also go and do the same thing for the darks. Grab a darks one, change it to a curves, and we can call this a let me actually go and make sure I have this selected. Sometimes you can have the wrong thing selected and get a bad selection. Let's go there. I think it's the same thing. I just wanted to make sure. And we'll call this darks. Click that layer again, go here, grab our brights one, and then we're going to change it to a curves. And we'll call this highs, or you can call it brights if you'd like. I usually call them lows. So highs, mids, lows. Okay, and so that's basically your highlights, your midtones, and your shadows. And we can come in here, and then this gives you the, you can say, oh, do we want to make it negative? Oh, that looks terrible. You can come in here and you can make it darker if you really want to. And this is kind of a way to only affect the darker tones, and you can bring this down and like kind of push it in a little bit if you want, like maybe something like right around 15%. And see how it just makes it, let me blow this up for you guys, makes it just a little bit darker in those dark tones. Just helps stretch our contrast out a little bit more up in that histogram. Do the same thing with the highs. You can come in here and you can say lighter, and again take this down, and you can push it up until we start to feel like we're, let's see, where are we at here? Maybe something like right around the 45% mark, maybe a little bit less. Let's drop it down to like 35-ish, right there. Yeah, something like that. Flatten it again, and then we have this guy, so we will go ahead and hit save. That will save it into Lightroom, and then we can, let's see here, go to this guy. And I think this is our reference view, right? Is this it? Oh, drag and drop. That's right. So we'll go here, drag this guy as our reference photo. Does that not work? There we go. And we can see here, this is where we started with our single exposure ambient shots. 1/15 of a second, f8, ISO 200, and then this is what we were able to pull into it with our multiple flash angles. Really, really nice color on the carpet here, a lot more even tone, and this is in a much better spot. We got rid of the glare here, we got rid of the glare on this guy, we have beautiful views out of our windows. They're not too heavy, maybe they are for you, but for me, they're not too heavy, and this is what I would do for, a really nice, just Flambient style image. Everything's a little bit more muted on this one. The color's a little bit more even. It's not as crazy yellow as you can see here, right? We put those two together. It's not as, this is a lot more even, whereas this is not as, this is a little bit more saturated. And I think it looks really good. This is hopefully helpful for you guys. And you can see how I would light one of these really big rooms to get really nice tone, really nice saturation, just a really nice flambient image. So not too hard on this one. I do like to go a little bit overboard, like to use the pen tool and take my time with some of these things. But if you're doing this for speed, maybe you don't need as many flash frames as I have, and maybe you want to be a little bit more intentional. Some things you could do is to take a light stand or take a monopod with a like a light stand holder on it, and you could take that flash and get a little bit more elevated, and just replicate the light that is in the scene. If you have overhead lighting, use the flash to over exaggerate that, and then also use it from the side where we are getting all of those windows. You could even hold it out and fire it back so that you get some nice lines coming across through the beams on the handrail, and really build it to where you are over exaggerating the light that is in the scene. Typically you want to do it in a way that is coming side lighting through the scene rather than being flat on it if you're going to shape it. And we're going to go a little bit more into depth as I evolve in doing this and as I take more photos, kind of using this idea of over exaggerating the light in the scene so you can see how it looks and how I kind of evolve doing it, because this is a learning experience that I want to bring you guys along with. So I hope this was helpful for you guys and that you learned a little bit more, maybe something that you can bring into your editing techniques and your shooting to hopefully make things a little bit easier when you encounter a shoot like this. I thank you guys so much for watching, all the support on the channel. We're well over 2,000 subscribers now, and yeah, I just really appreciate everybody who has been contributing. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the next one.